Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you might be. I am Nicole BC, and you know everything. I think I should title this episode Reality Creation Part 1736 or something, because I've talked about this a lot, and I must admit my opinion has evolved. This one is loud right now. And so I don't know if the loop is becoming everything, or everything is just echoing the loop, or we're all just going through it, going for it together. Yeah. Apologies in advance as well. I am a little sick. So if you hear me sniffling or snarfling, or I sound a little cigarette smoker circa like 1937 in some jazz bar in Berlin, you're welcome. We will be getting back to the AI. This is AI inspired for sure. I think it is AI influenced, absolutely. What I wanted to talk about today, which, like I said, I have talked about on many days. I talk about it on most days with myself. Because when our world is a reflection, which I believe it is, explain potholes. Explain billionaires. I'm waiting. I just got back from New Orleans. Happy Carnival. Actually, today is Ash Wednesday officially. Making the sign of the cross on my head. The gods know I need the sign of the cross on many parts of my body. This might be not safe for work episode. I don't know yet. We're about to find out. But there was a pothole in New Orleans. When I first moved to New Orleans, the first iteration, someone warned me, don't drive over the potholes. You don't know how deep they are. And there was a pothole at the end of one street that I frequented. And one day it had like an entire, I think it was a carburetor, like the thing that your exhaust pipe actually plugs into. I don't know anything about cars first. It was like a whole piece of machinery. Just know that was scraped off the bottom of a car. This time in New Orleans, on a parade route, on a major thoroughfare, a pothole turned into a sinkhole and it swallowed a whole damn car. So when we think about reality creation, there are often instances that I know I ask myself, wonder where we dreamt this one up. I wonder what frequency it is that I'm tuning into that allowed me to transmit this particular piece of evidence, right? So yeah, this might sound a little woo. And like I said, we'll get back to the AI. Just wait a week. But this all tracks and it matters and we're feeling it. And if you think you're losing your mind, you are not alone. If you felt a little emotionally unhinged, welcome to the party. It's not just New Orleans and carnival season. It's not just spring. I believe we referred to this in the last episode, depending on, what calendar you follow. We're still in the new times, right? You might be getting called out right now. You might be experiencing a few things at work, in life, in relationship that doesn't show up like something you would have asked for, yet here it is. And I am not one to complain. I don't like talking about problems without offering solutions. I don't like just bringing up the negative shit without also complimenting, and not in like some like positivity sandwich, which is kind of what we're going to get into today. But at a very real, I am looking for the good stuff. There might also be a few things we can work on, which is a great opportunity, but let's start with the good. Let's bring ourselves back to something that feels remotely closer to what we want. Because the reality is in reality creation, we can find something in every moment, right? Like there is beauty in that pain. And I know it's cliche, but if you've worked with me, you know, because it's obnoxious as fuck, I look at problems like opportunities. Oh, cool. There's actually something that could be addressed here, which could change everything. I look at my faults and my faulty decision-making in the same container as doing my best. So I don't think looking at the worst case scenario, I don't think playing through the possibility of how bad could it get is complaining or negative per se. I think it is an incredibly useful exercise when we do it through this lens of, on the other side of it, what could be possible. I have been really focusing on what could be possible. And despite everything kind of going on, when I wake up in the morning, before I look at my phone, which admittedly is a much smaller gap than it used to be, but I just recognize I got to wake up today and I am in a bed with a healthy body and I have a roof over my head and I am not in immediate danger. And that actually feels pretty great. I know that I'm very privileged in that. And by letting myself just feel it, I do believe it changes the trajectory of my day. And I do keep hearing your world is a reflection. I do keep hearing what we are experiencing now is based on the decisions we made then. And it's not very soothing. Everybody's nervous systems seem to be on high alert right now, and rightfully so. So how do we start to feel comfortable and what is becoming an increasingly uncomfortable reality? And the reason I think this is important to talk about right now is in this whole reality creation conversation, which we get into at the beginning of things, the beginning of years, the beginning of eras, the beginning of seasons. Setting intention, understanding what it is we want, understanding where it is we want to go, understanding how we think we might want to get there is pretty informative. It helps us know what to do next. And perhaps even closer than that, what to do right now. So here's my thesis for this episode. Good vibes only is emotional outsourcing. Reality creation is concentration. When you hand your discomfort to someone else and demand they turn it into a lesson or a silver lining or a quote or a graphic for their Instagram feed, some kind of redemption arc, you get lost. And right now, I think we're all seeking a pathway forward. And as I even say that, it sounds so fucking obvious, but the challenge is we keep doing what we know. And it's incredibly counterintuitive to go, something needs to happen. I don't know what, but I'm going to do the thing that feels uncertain. The counterintuitive move. And I get why we do what we know. I get why we take action in times of incredible stress and sorrow, because we want to get the fuck out of it. We don't want to feel like that anymore. That's energy level 1, 2, right? Like, I just need to jump up that ladder and bypass this experience. What I have learned acutely over the last few years, but wow, what did I get to relive this particular opportunity the last month? When we can accept what is, and I'm gonna try you, I'm gonna test you, I'm gonna at you on this one. If you can accept what is as forever, you stop fighting, you stop wishing it away. I think in this hopamine, and this reality creation, something I've certainly done. I should really only ever speak for myself. And truly I am. Sometimes I just because I want you to feel included in my thought process since this is created for you. But I know I can miss information and I can definitely gloss over the details. And in terms of going, what happened in the decision making then to create the reality now? If I'm already stuck in what's happening next, there, I think, can be a really big learning lesson missed. So I've been really asking myself, what am I tolerating? What am I repeating? And what do I keep choosing that loops me back here? And this isn't coming from a place of blame or that idea that like you attract your trauma, like you feel safer with what you know is to be unsafe. And this isn't about manifestation and wishing, or I should say magnetizing what it is that you think you want. This isn't spiritual or vibrational. This is me actually feet on ground, potentially crawling up onto a hill, which I might just die on, and saying, let's stop offering these platitudes as customer service. Okay, you knew this was coming. Toxic positivity. This is commonly described as avoiding, suppressing, or rejecting negative emotions and or experiences, not just in yourself, but in other people as well. It's the pressure to stay upbeat no matter what, and it does block actual processing. And I don't mean understanding. I mean processing in terms of feeling the damn thing so it can be released and we don't keep repeating it. That is the challenge when things feel overwhelmingly awful. We just don't want to feel like that anymore. So we distract, oftentimes with really powerful action. We disassociate, again, can look really productive, but that energy doesn't disappear. It just turns into something else, generally anger, force, beating yourself up. And that is what I mean when we default to what we know. Please go back and listen to the energy leadership episodes. I talk a lot about this. Forced optimism isn't neutrality. It isn't that sort of level 3. Where do we go from here? I'm accepting there's a lot of fear and resentment and anger here, but there's also hope and desire and ambition. How can we hold both of those and ensure that the next step we take is grounded and not wishing things were different? Mental health education sources keep warning about the same pattern. When someone is hurting and you meet them with minimization or look on the bright side, it increases shame and guilt, and it can make people feel alone in their pain. So this isn't just a relational problem or a societal problem. This is a nervous system problem. And again, I get it. We're all aware now. So what the fuck am I supposed to do about it, BZ? I hear you. One of the most cited emotion regulation researchers is James Gross. His work separates strategies like reappraisal from suppression. Suppression is basically the keep it together, keep it cute, keep it moving strategy. Gross and John's research found habitual suppression is associated with worse outcomes for well-being and social functioning. And there's more. Suppression can impose cognitive load, meaning it takes mental resources. You're spending energy managing the mask instead of living your life. Translation. If you keep forcing positivity, you don't become enlightened. You become tired and wired. So when people say don't focus on the negative, just change your perspective, shift your mindset, focus on something else, what they often mean is don't feel that. That's not healing. That's what I'm talking about when I say emotional outsourcing. And my sense is it's not other people telling you to do that, it's you. It takes a lot of courage to actually unravel and to let yourself puddle on the floor. It's gross. It's embarrassing. It's not very useful. Nothing happens. And I talked a lot about this in older episodes as well, like the wishing something were away, the resisting of that need, the need to just feel creates even more effort. You're actually pushing, literally. That's where the exhaustion comes from, not from the pain itself, but from the pushing of the pain away, pushing away of the pain. Researchers studied what happens when people habitually suppress emotion. Gross and Levinson's classic lab study had participants watch an emotion eliciting film, while inhibiting emotional expression. They recorded behavioral and psychological responses. And the important part for us is very simple. Suppression isn't free. It changes what's happening in the body and the experience of the moment. So zoom out. Apply this filter, this lens, this projection onto your life. A large body of work shows suppression tends to be linked with social costs, including reduced social responsiveness and relationship impacts. This means the mask consumes attention and disrupts connection. You were missing shit. You were missing important data. That's what I meant when I said, like, by jumping into action, I'm not learning what I need to learn so that I don't have to do this same lesson learning again. If you're grieving, heartbroken, financially stressed, identity wrecked, and you're forcing positivity, you're basically trying to run your life while your brain is doing like background operating system updates. And then you wonder why you can't think, why you can't choose, why you feel like you're falling behind. You're fighting reality, and reality always wins. That's what you're being shown, my friend. So let's resurrect this idea of reflection. Let's pull it out of this dumpster fire that we're all trying to put out right now. Reflection is feedback, is powerful. Reflection can mean, what am I tolerating? What am I not saying? What is the pattern I keep repeating because it is familiar? It is what I know. It doesn't mean you attract your trauma. It doesn't mean you deserved the L. It doesn't mean you earned your pain because you have a bad attitude. It doesn't mean you created this reality to punish yourself. If your framework makes you hate yourself for being human, can you throw it away from me, please, along with all of the other frameworks and systems and programs that are punishing you, that are Control-Alt-deleting your experience? Pain is pain. It's excruciating. And you can be resilient in the pain. You can be learning and devastated. You can be puddled on the floor and productive because you're processing. You can be spiritual and still complain and say, this fucking sucks. This is hard. And I hate this. That's not negativity. That's reality. So here's what I've been working on over the last month. And it's not name it. It's not a mantra. It's just something I've been doing every morning. So when something sucks or feels hard or I wished it weren't happening, I either write this down or sometimes all that's available to me is just repeating it silently in my mind. This part I do look at my phone for because I do try and like do this for a minimum of 5 minutes. Ideally, it's closer to 15. But I go through the story, my story, without fucking editing it. And I think about what it's cost me, plainly. No drama. And no conclusions, like what it could be doing. It's just here and now. Facts and impact. As an example, my friend told me that I was complaining. And I felt like she didn't give a shit about me. And she didn't understand what I was going through. And in fact, I was angry at myself most for even having the problems to complain about. And it felt impossible because if I can't talk about it, how can I process it? So now add a different version of the story. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. Fictional writing is fine here. And not like some silver lining, just a variant. I was discussing my reality. My friend interpreted it as negative. She accused me of something that I don't relate to. And I felt resentful about her misunderstanding me. Even just saying those two things right now, I feel completely different. I feel a little empowered. I feel like I'm writing my own story in that moment and not that my story is being given to me in script form to review. When we can reframe in a manner, and I actually encourage you to keep doing this. This is one of my very first blog posts ever called The Focus Wheel. You take a piece of paper, you divide it into 8 pieces, you make a circle, you divide it into 8 pieces like it's a piece of pizza, right? Circle 4, like a plus sign and then an X sign, right? And you write your version of what's happening. And then in the next pie piece, you just write one slightly different version. And you keep going around that circle. And I'd be really curious what you experience as you do that. Because for me, it's this sense of neutrality. There are always going to be several versions of the story. And you are allowed to play through whichever one makes the most sense for you. Having now rewritten this story, you get to pick the next move that feels honest, not the highest vibe. Maybe it's revisiting that conversation with your friend. Maybe it's owning that she can experience it as complaining and you can experience it as storytelling and processing. No confrontation necessary. Maybe it's looking at one of the quote unquote stories, AKA problems, and going, maybe instead of talking about it, it's time to think about this and change it. Again, there's no one right answer ever, but that's it. It's just playing with these experiences and being willing to stay with it until you've shifted it, even if that takes all day, even if it takes all month. My friend was, I don't know that I actually shared this story at the beginning. I'm just jumping into it in my head, but a personal friend of mine is also going through a tough time. And she was just talking about her emotional experience. And she asked if I had woken up in the middle of the night upset. And I said, I've been doing that for a few years now, my friend. Grief is a cunt. It'll get you. And I think we're all grieving at the moment. Maybe not a life or a relationship or several, but the way things were, the way we thought things were going to be. So this is reality creation. It's not denying the problem. It's not even pretending you're not drowning in it right now. It's staying in contact with the knowing there is a surface. And when you're ready for it, you'll swim. So this one a little darker than I expected. Felt useful. I read a stat the other day that the United States laid off more people in the last month than it ever has. And there's a Northern European country, obviously the promised land, that is creating a campaign to attract American workers because, we're pretty good at one thing and that's working. Thanks, capitalism and greed and programming. But that's a different podcast episode. But they were saying, come here, live where we have work-life balance, live where there is benefits, live where you're also taxed 50% of your wages to create those resources, but come and experience life from a different standpoint and just see what happens. When we swim to the surface, when we swim to the edge, swim to shore, it's going to look different. You can look at that exact same place that you were drowning and realize it wasn't that far. You can't do that when you are just fighting for survival. And that's what I mean by stay in it, stabilize in that moment. Don't try to escape it. Be as uncomfortable as you can. Actually, what I meant to say is be as comfortable as you can in the discomfort. I think I'm gonna admit that I might be a little too sick to record another episode today. So thank you for bearing with me. By playing through this experiment, by just honoring where you're at least once a day, and again, I recommend it in the morning for that potential shift, and also to give yourself permission. There have been many mornings in the last month when I don't know if we're getting out of bed today. And just letting myself play through that worst case scenario immediately shifts it. And it's not for me to tell you what your experience is going to be, but it has been a wild experience for me to just accept this is what's going to happen forever. My worst fears are my actual reality forever, and sit with that. And you'll know when you believe it. And then something happens. Most people discover this. When you stop forcing positivity, you stop wasting energy. When you stop wasting energy, you will discover new actions. And when you take inspired actions, your life starts to change. That's not some productivity hack. It's also not vibes. It's just a way of moving through your world in a way that feels truthful and real and aligned. Don't make me say words like that. Okay, we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Final few takeaways. Ask yourself, where am I repeating someone else's spiritual script because I'm scared to trust my own perception? This is the energy of rules, authority, and tradition. And this is how you're supposed to do it. Colliding with that quieter voice that actually knows what's true for you. It's a mind bender. It's a mind blender. Sometimes, air quotes, your world is just a reflection of you, is just a way to stay loyal to a belief system that keeps you from telling the truth. That one hit me too. There is no one size fits all, especially in spirituality. And we have been using allegory for centuries to brainwash people. Don't use their words, hear that meaning, and make it your own. What I am saying to you is be who you are, all of it, right now, and accept nothing is ever going to change right now. And when you stop squirming, you're probably pretty close. Now be that for a while. And when you forget that you were ever struggling with that, you're there. However you want to describe that or experience it or utilize it and leverage it, please do. But my words aren't it. It's the intention behind it. And that's what I mean when I say someone else's spiritual script. Because the shit works. But it's about making it work for you. And truly only you can figure out how to do that. This is the energy of making your life work without drama. It's not manifesting. It's not proof. It's not hustle. It's practical. I was just going to say it's magic. But that's what I mean when I say find your words. To me, magic is a very succinct way of saying anything is possible. If I can imagine it, it can happen. Then the question just becomes how, when. And as we all know, we don't get to be in charge of that, right? It's just about whatever that next step is, knowing what it is I'm trying to create, AKA that magic. When we ask things like, what does my body need? What does my home need? What does my money need? What does my actual life need today? We're addressing that level 1, 2 energy. What do I need to feel safe and secure? What do I need to do to feel like I'm in control? What do I need to do to feel like I'm responsible? When you can answer those questions honestly for you in this moment, you start to move up that energetic ladder. And that magic shows up, that inspiration, the next steps appear. And they are things you've never thought of before. They are that counterintuitive opportunity that could potentially, and I don't even want to say change everything, because the point of this is not to manufacture hope. And I know I talked at the beginning of the year about hoping the most important thing. And it is. But hope can also mean I hope that this is it forever. Because that gives me some stability and security. And then I can figure out what to do with this right now. Not what can I do with the thing I don't have that I feel like I have to have in order to be able to do a thing. And you can see how that would loop. A lot of spiritual people outsource stability to the universe and call it faith. Sometimes purpose is paying attention to the tangible so you can stop living in constant emergency. We use fear and force and drama and story to motivate ourselves. If that's showing up, you probably don't need motivation. Go back to the aforementioned, what does my body need? What does my money need? What does my home need? Those are some basic security questions. And I'm talking need, okay? Stabilize. Be there for a while. See what happens. This is the energy of disengagement, boredom, low-grade apathy. It's in these spaces. I think they called it rotting was that last year, maybe the year before? Again, here's the mind bender. Ask where you are pretending to want something because you're supposed to. But your whole system is uninterested. On those days when I didn't want to get out of bed, I thought I needed to. I thought I should be dotting. I used shame and pain to try and ... But the reality is like, it was fine that I stayed in bed. I could work from bed, blessed. That's really the only other thing I'm doing. But on days like that, admittedly, the world didn't end despite my fucking puddle of a pity party. And yeah, there's a few other stories that came out of that. If you pair the conflict and comparison energy in your pity puddle party, you know you're using drama for something. Just ask, what is it? Maybe it's self-importance. I could never. They could never. Things will never. The world will keep spinning if you have a bad day, my friend. Sorry. In fact, people might not even really want you around while you're in that energy. Oops, did I say that? So yeah, like take a knee, quiet quit, whatever it is. What you are irritated at, what you are resentful about, what you are lacking reveals what you actually value. And that might be kind of gross. I know that I can relate to that. If you're bored, that's what reveals what you're done pretending is for you. So this is big fucking work. This might be the hardest challenge I've offered in all of these episodes. Hidden inside that annoyance and that disinterest and that depression and that anxiety is you. What if you can love you despite? So yeah, thanks AI. Thanks for triggering. Sorry, thanks for forever changing our output and triggering this identity crisis. Thanks for helping me see how purpose is an inside job, but yet we've all outsourced it to the market, the systems, the man. So we had to take a beat to get brutally fucking honest about what the fucking problem is. I'm going to say fucking one more time for good measure. We can't bypass this anymore. We're just trying to dress up fear as wisdom, as control, as potential, but it's what is exhausting all of us and turning us against each other and not even allowing us to see the tools that we have available and use them appropriately so that we can leverage this current present moment to actually create something completely new, that we're not just repeating the same old fucking bullshit anymore. I said fucking one more time, two more times. You're welcome. That means we're done. So if someone tells you that your honesty is a bad attitude, tell them to fuck off. That's the last fuck of the episode. Well, that was technically. This is me saying lovingly, I'm not here for your convenience and you're not here for mine. I'll see you on the next episode. And I will feel better. I don't even believe in being sick. Talk about reality creation, man. I'm not going to say it.